Welcome to my preview for Game Week 21, but I'll also be reviewing Game Week 20 and how it's gone so far. I still have a few players left, but I have to say it has been pretty poor so far. I don't really have most of the big hitters apart from maybe Joao Cancelo, and I'll be discussing some of the best assets going forward and some interesting statistics that will help you with your captaincy decisions. But let's go over my team for Game Week 20, and to be honest, yeah, it's pretty poor at the moment. And 43 points, I did take a -8 as well. I did bring in Antonio using these moves, and happy that he did return. But apart from that, pretty poor across the board. And apart from a few exceptions, yeah, this is looking like a really poor week. But Martinez in goal, and I have to say, I wasn't fully convinced that he can get a clean sheet against Burnley, but to concede 3 goals, I would never have expected it. And now Villa have gone from the 3rd best defensive unit this season to 4th, and they still have a few games in hand. So if anything, they're going to be conceding more goals and maybe going a bit further down that table. But Martinez is still a great asset. And to be honest, it's kind of clear right now that the best goalkeepers you can get are Martinez, maybe McCarthy and Nick Pope. I mean, Pope, even when you consider 2 goals, he's getting 3 points because he gets so many saves. And if Burnley keep a clean sheet, more likely than not, Pope is going to be getting the bonus points. So, yeah, Martinez, still happy with him overall, but very disappointed in him this week. But we move forward. Still some good fixtures coming up, although Southampton, West Ham and Arsenal over the next 3 aren't particularly good. But long-term, still pretty good fixtures up until April, really, before they turn for the worse up until the rest of the season. But still happy with Martinez. As for the Manchester City double up, one of the best things I've done this season is getting Stones and Cancelo. Stones, yet another clean sheet. And yeah, for his value, obviously not as nailed as Diaz, and I keep on saying this, but still really happy with John Stones. And yeah, I mean, the turnaround he's made is fantastic. Obviously, the fixtures that are coming up soon are looking pretty poor, but Manchester City can still keep some clean sheets and get those points, so not too concerned with that. And Joao Cancelo, finally, I keep talking about this guy. When are the returns going to come? If anything, he maximum just gets, 1 or 2 bonus points, but he got the assist, he got the goal. A bit controversial, the goal, but to be honest, it should have stood. And of course, I'll say that as a Cancelo owner. But yeah, great finish, and he just showed all of his attacking qualities in that game, and I'm really happy to have owned him. And I will admit, obviously, just before the game, I was actually considering, a move to Diaz. Not yet, because obviously it's a bit of a sideways move and I have other problems with my team, but because Diaz over the last 10 game weeks, or before game week 20 anyway, he outscored Cancelo comfortably, and Cancelo gets rotated, and with Diaz, rotation is less of a risk. But I have to say, Cancelo, showing his qualities and showing why a lot of people got him in, including myself, and maybe, his qualities that he has over Stones and Diaz. But going forward, you can't go wrong with any of them, to be honest. Having 2 of those 3 is fine. Having all 3 over the next few is looking really good. But after that, you don't want to have triple City defence when they're facing Liverpool away, Tottenham at home, Arsenal away, etc. There's some very difficult fixtures coming up. But I'm very happy with Cancelo. Someone I'm not really pleased with as well is Soufal. Considered a late goal as well, to lose yet another point. Didn't get the clean sheet, didn't get any assists. And something to mention, which obviously I've been analysing in detail after the games, Soufal tends to get his assists at home, and Creswell is the one who gets the assists away from home. So if you have both of them, one thing I would say going forward, and this doesn't mean you're guaranteed points, but if you're at home, go with Soufal most likely, and if you're away from home, put Creswell. But for those of you who are kind of looking to bring one of them in, Soufal still offers great value, but of course very disappointing. But then again, I mean, if you look at the last 4 game weeks, he did pretty much produce a return every single time, whether it's with clean sheets or an assist and a bonus point. So he's been fairly consistent for his price. You can't really knock him too much. And to be honest, those that I have on my bench, Mitchell 1 point, Walker Peters didn't play, and Basuma 2, and he couldn't even have come in anyway. So to be honest, pretty happy anyway. It's not like I'm losing out on too much on my bench. As for my midfield, yeah, pretty mixed bag. So Grealish got a goal, and everything goes for him at Aston Villa. There's not much more that needs to be said. He's having an exceptional season. Look at that. In terms of fantasy assists, he's got double digits already, and he's got 6 goals. Yeah, the guy is a quality player, arguably the best player outside the top 6. And just like I said with Martinez, good long-term fixtures up until April. But still, yeah, I mean, with Grealish, just a bit of a shame that his team let him down there. Salah hasn't played yet, and Son, they haven't played yet. Same with Kane, so we'll have to wait and see how they do. But Bruno Fernandes captain, and that's the 4th time I've captained him. And the first time he got benched against West Ham, came on, salvaged an assist, and I think some bonus points. And the other 3 times he has blanked. So, to be fair, if you look at it over the last 4 game weeks, he has not scored or assisted. He got a fantasy assist against Fulham, but he didn't get an actual assist. So he has blanked 4 times in a row, technically. So it's not too much of a surprise, but the fact that United lost at home to Sheffield, I mean, it just puts a huge dent into their title credentials, But yeah, with Man United, I already said this, I expect them to finish 3rd or something like that. They're still going to be up there. They may compete or be closer to the top than they were before, but just expect some inconsistency along the way. And Bruno was tracking back a lot, but in terms of goals and assists, I think he did assist the Martial goal, which got ruled out, which was pretty controversial. But Bruno Fernandes, yet another blank when I've captained him, and it is what it is. Bamford, speaking of blanks, very, very disappointed. And it's not just, the points. It's also his performances. He looks so poor. But to be fair, I have to say, Leeds United, it seems like they're not passing it to him at the moment. Rafinha is so greedy. And there were so many times Bamford was pretty much in a good position and the ball wasn't passed to him. So he was getting really frustrated, understandably so. But in terms of FPL, we don't care about that. We want the points, and to be honest, Bamford isn't looking too good at the moment. So he is someone to consider worth selling, but just maybe give him a bit more time. But when you look at the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who to be fair hasn't shown much yet in terms of goals and assists, because he hasn't scored a goal pretty much since game week 11. But it's important to, keep your options open. And I think Antonio's a better option right now in terms of his form, in terms of West Ham, how many chances they're creating, Harry Kane as well. But Bamford's still one of the better options around his price, but not looking too good at the moment. His numbers have dropped, his performances have certainly dropped, and Leeds United, as an offensive unit, relying on individual trickery and skill with Rafinha and players like that and Harrison. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Bamford. And Antonio, I already discussed him. He got an assist. And actually, there was a time where he actually got the assist for the second goal, I believe, but he ended up going to Cresswell, which was a big shame. But just from that moment, I kind of thought, maybe this isn't my week. But it is what it is. Still happy to have him. And he's someone that I should have got in Game Week 19, which I've discussed a million times, so I won't bore you to death with that. But looking forward to Game Week 21, and before I discuss certain players individually, looking pretty decent, and I did make an early transfer. I made this during the City game. I just couldn't resist any longer, and wanted to avoid the price drop, and also, he's just looking great at the moment, Gundogan, and he could be my captain for Game Week 21. It will be between him, Kane, and Son. I don't think I'm going to deviate from that. Salah, maybe, depending on how Liverpool play, maybe he's someone I could consider as well. Bruno, despite the fact that obviously you don't expect him to blank 5 times in a row, or twice in a row if you count the fantasy assist against Fulham, it is Arsenal away, so maybe the ceiling isn't as high. But then again, who knows? Maybe Man United are going to be well up for it after their poor performance against Sheffield United. But there's plenty of decent captaincy options this week, but I would suspect a lot of people will be captaining a City player, whether that's Cancelo, maybe Stones or Gundogan, maybe Sterling as well, for those of you who have him. And Son and Kane, I think they're going to be the best or the most popular captaincy options, should I say. And I may go to one of them, and I've seen Kane's record against Brighton is pretty decent. That's why I'm considering him over Son, who doesn't have a particularly great record against them. I think he's got 1 goal and 1 assist. But Martinez in goal against Southampton. Not an easy game, to be honest. They're quite similar level, and if you remember, Southampton a few months ago went there to Villa Park and they were 3-0 up, and then Villa scored 2 late goals, but Villa was struggling a lot in that. I've got Walker-Peters there. He is a big doubt, but I've made a transfer already. I don't think I'm going to take a hit, but I may do so for someone like Justin. But we'll have to wait and see what Kyle Walker-Peters' injury is like. I mean, Ralph Hasenhüttl said after the Arsenal defeat that he's going to be looking at whether he's going to be fit and available, because he hasn't even spoken to his doctor yet, so we'll have to wait and see for news on Kyle Walker-Peters. And Cancelo and Stones, there's not much more that needs to be said. And Cancelo is now actually 5th in terms of expected goal involvements over the last 4 game weeks. He's slightly overperformed that statistic now, whereas before he was literally underperforming his statistic pretty much for the whole season with no goal contributions. And should be... you know what, I do think Sheffield are going to pretty much lose by 2 or 3, and I did say that against Man United, but I'm more convinced here. I have more confidence in Manchester City's quality and also their mentality. Man United just seemed off it in that game, but triple up on City looks really good for the next 2 game weeks. Gundogan, I already said, I'm actually considering captaining him, and yeah, I mean, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? We would have been called madmen. But you just look at his statistics since game week 13, I think, against West Brom. He's got the most goals of any midfielder in FPL. He's just looking so sharp. And if we actually look at expected goal involvements over the last 4 game weeks, Gundogan is 4th. Only Saka, De Bruyne and Bruno are above him. So he's in really good company, and Sterling is just behind him there. So many players from Manchester City pretty much in the top 15. You also see Foden and Mahrez. So Manchester City looks really good at the moment in terms of investing in their assets. In terms of attack though, I still prefer having double defence and having one attacker, and I do believe Gundogan will be a good pick. And he is someone I could have brought in, obviously, for Game Week 20, but I didn't want to take more hits. And I wanted to see how City played and who would shine in his absence. And Gundogan did get taken off, actually. As soon as I brought him in, it seems like he got taken off for that rest. Hopefully he does start against Sheffield, because I do think he is in for some big, big points. But Gundogan, very happy with him. The fixtures do turn soon, but maybe I'll still play him in some of these games. And to be fair, what I have now is a bit of rotation with Bamford, Antonio. I'll probably be rotating one of them and maybe Gundogan, depending on the fixture and the form. So that's something good that I have going. And I do have a bit of money in the bank. If we look here, yeah, I've got 1 million in the bank, so maybe I could upgrade Mitchell or Soufal or Walker-Peters. Most likely it'd be Walker-Peters or Mitchell. That would be my other transfer, I'm thinking, ahead of Game Week 22, but that's looking a bit further ahead. In terms of the rest of my midfield, yeah, Son, great captaincy shout this week. You could arguably, captain him. Kane as well. Bruno Fernandes, Salah. Pretty difficult fixtures, to be honest. A year ago or even before that, I would have said Salah against West Ham away. That's screaming points. Not so sure this year, but we'll have to wait and see. West Ham are looking pretty good at the moment, around 4th place. They're looking very, very solid. And Liverpool are off form, but let's see how they do against Tottenham today. And Antonio does play Liverpool, so I got a bit of a conundrum if we look at my team for Game Week 21. Because despite how poor Bamford has been and the chances that have been created for him, and also people not passing it to him, it's difficult to put him in my team, and he's got Leicester away. But then again, Leicester tend to struggle more so at home, and they have no Jamie Vardy. That's going to have a huge impact. We already saw that against Everton. So it's really, in my opinion, a toss-up between Bamford or Antonio into my starting lineup. And if Antonio had a better fixture, it would be a no-brainer for me. But there's something to consider there. Even Mitchell at home to Wolves. Wolves are the type of team that wouldn't mind a 0-0 or something like that. And if there are goals, maybe there won't be that many. But Wolves have a decent record recently against Crystal Palace. And Soufal at home to Liverpool is not someone that I would ideally play, but obviously if Walker-Peters is injured, he's not going to play against Villa, then Soufal will be the one coming in for him, so I have that third defender. But yeah, that's going to be my main conundrum. Will I play Bamford or Antonio? And in terms of captaincy, will it be Kane, Son or Gundogan? I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see. My team is looking pretty good for Game Week 21, and even going forward, I do like my team, although the points... obviously, I did do well in Game Week 19 without a bench boost and any chips, but Game Week 20 was pretty poor. And unless Son, Kane and Salah go on a madness, it's going to look like a really poor week. And in terms of forwards, actually, I want to highlight this. Mikel Antonio is top in terms of goal involvements or expected goal involvements, and he's actually slightly underperforming his statistic. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist in his last 4 games. But yeah, he's still doing really well. And I think the numbers are sustainable. I think he'll keep on getting those points. And you know what? Other players that I've obviously given slack in the past, Lacazette, Watkins, Maupay, they all make the top 5, and then Kane completes that. And I think Kane can do very well. Obviously, he's fixture-proof. There's not much more that needs to be said about Kane. Even Martial and Firmino are up there, but they're not players I would recommend. But Watkins, I have to say, he's been impressing me recently. That's back-to-back games he's scored in, I think, for the first time this season. But still, in my opinion, from Aston Villa, the main guys are Grealish and Martinez. But then Targett and Watkins, they're decent, third picks if you want them. However, that Burnley game did show that doubling up on Villa defence, probably not ideal. The only team you'd want to double up on in terms of their defence is Manchester City. And speaking of defenders, actually, I mean, I did mention Joao Cancelo, that he's 5th in terms of expected goal involvements, but there's actually Ben White as well. He is top. He is actually top of any defender. Then you have Luke Shaw, Robertson and Azpilicueta completing the top 4 spots. And you have other players, even Soufal, he's 7th. And Stones, Ruben Dias, they're all in and amongst the top 15. So it does show Manchester City assets at the moment are pretty much the go-to at the moment. But a lot of good players, even Son, normally at the beginning of the season when he was getting so many points, he was actually, largely overperforming his statistics. So everyone was thinking, oh, maybe, he's, the numbers aren't sustainable and he's just having a crazy conversion rate now. But what about later in the season? But now he's posting much better stats. And you would expect the goals to come against Liverpool, maybe not, but going forward, I do think so. And a lot of these players are desirable for a lot of people. Maybe not Walker-Peters because of his fixtures and obviously his injury, but apart from that, really happy with this team. And a bit of an insight into my transfer plans going forward. Despite the fact that I don't really recommend double Villa defence, Target is someone to look at with his assists, but I don't know about that because I already have Martinez. Otherwise, I would be going for Target. And then others to consider, I probably wouldn't go for a Southampton defender because of their fixtures. So, you know what? I would actually consider maybe someone like Luke Shaw, although him being rotated against Sheffield, that kind of cements, what I was thinking for a long time, which is why I never went for Luke Shaw. James Justin is a serious possibility either for Walker-Peters. I think I wouldn't be able to afford him from a direct swap from Mitchell, which is a bit of a shame. But I could do Walker-Peters to Justin. And to be honest, if I did have another defender instead of Mitchell and I had Walker-Peters and Soufal, I would have a lot of, rotation headaches and selection headaches. So I want to keep things simple. Mitchell is fine as my third substitute. So to be honest, despite how good Walker-Peters has been for me this season, I might get rid of him for Justin going forward or someone else like that. I'll be looking at defenders. I haven't been particularly impressed with them at the moment or in recent weeks apart from the City assets. So I'll let you guys know in terms of that. I always post my transfer plans on the community tab, and if you want to know about that, then subscribe to the channel and smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. And good luck for the rest of the Game Week 20 and also for Game Week 21 onwards. And yeah, captaincy is really important. I mean, I did get yet another captaincy blank with Bruno Fernandes, and it's important for me to nail this captaincy. And in my opinion, the double Spurs attack or Gundogan, one of them should be my captain. And to be honest, a lot of you said Cancelo, captaining him, and look what happened. He got 17 points. And sometimes a bold move like that is needed. I mean, I wish I captained Cancelo now. I would be looking much better. But it is what it is. And still happy with most of these assets in the long term, despite Salah and Bruno being pretty poor recently in terms of FPL. But we'll have to wait and see. But thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate all the support. And I'll see you next time in the deadline stream, 1 hour before the deadline, obviously, on the Saturday at 10:30. I hope to see you then.